I hope you're doing well. And I really feel compelled to talk to you today about emotions. This time of year always brings out those emotions in us, especially with a year like we've had in 2020. I've got to imagine I'm not the only one experiencing all the emotions. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about the brain science of emotions and how we can decide the emotions that we really want to experience and give ourselves the ability to experience more of those emotions, and therefore creating a life that we love living versus being reactionary and responding to the environment that's always around us. As we've learned over this last year, things happen. Things that we sometimes don't even expect, things that we wish we could not experience, but yet here we are. And I have been doing a lot of emotional work lately, which just is filtering into how I think about the brain science of emotions and understanding what I know about that. I want to share that with you today. So thanks for joining me. I am excited to dive into talking about creating the emotions. So full disclosure, as per every quarter, I sit down and I will work on my, what we call in our community, epic audacious goal, EAG. I will start to define the top 10 areas of our lives that are important to us. And how am I doing? Like, how am I doing on the scale of 1 to 10 in my relationships, in my health, in my hobbies, in my marriage, with my children, in my environment, right? This is something that we take our clients through because so often as entrepreneurs, we don't have to be asked to create goals in business, right? We tend to be very motivated in that way. And if we're being honest, sometimes our relationships suffer, or sometimes our health suffers, or our environment suffer. And as I was working through this, which I do every 3 months, no matter what, I noticed some trends. I actually started noticing these trends like 6-7 months ago, but in the midst of the pandemic and everything that was going on, it was simple to kind of let it go. And we had a lot more space and time together in the family. So some of those deficits weren't so obvious. But as my husband is back in the office, as my kids are back in school, and we have a new puppy and all the things are starting, the energetic, right? The energetic is starting to increase a little bit, maybe go back a little bit to what it was before. It's really caused me to pause and say, what is important to me? And it's not that you don't set business goals, because I can't help myself, and I doubt you can either. But it's just a matter of looking at the areas in which you aren't where you want to be and having those impact your goals. In other words, I'm not going to create a goal that takes me away from my family 8 to 10 months out of the year if my biggest deficit and my biggest why is my family. So what will happen to us is we'll try to do that. We'll try to have the goal get set. We won't take into consideration these deficits. And what will end up happening is we'll be creating anxiety for ourselves and even depression for ourselves, feeling like we can never get caught up, overwhelmed, feeling like we just can't get it all together, that something is wrong with us. And it's not that. It's because what we're asking our brains to do is to hold in tension the things we really want while we're not nurturing those. And that doesn't work, and things break that way. And what I started to notice, just full disclosure, I wanted this podcast today to be all about kind of the work I've been doing. So there's a couple areas of my life that aren't where I want them to be. One of which is my marriage. Now, let me be full disclosure here. I have an amazing marriage. We just celebrated 15 years together. I love you, babe, so much. But what I've noticed is we're nurturing the business and we're nurturing our children and even our puppy. And we've been dealing with the scraps, the leftovers at the end of the night. And now that we have a teenager, that end of the night thing doesn't happen anymore. We haven't had date nights in a long time. And so our connection as a married couple, albeit like if you looked from the outside in, the check marks were checked. That's not what I want. Like, so that slowing down to look at what is it that I really, really want? When I say that in my marriage, what I really want is a super passionate, super hot, sorry, I'm going to get blushed, but really close relationship where I feel like he is my best friend and he's my lover and the things, right? So that wasn't happening. I mean, we were being great parents. We were being great business owners. We were being creating a great environment. But at the end of the day, we were leaving scraps for each other. And so I felt that in my emotions, kind of that loss or that feeling like I'm not doing enough. Instead of slowing down and saying, what is it that I want to create in my marriage? What is it that I want to create for my health? And what is it for you, right? What is it that I want in my environment? What is it that I want for my children? Yes, running our business is a priority. And I don't have to really encourage you to create goals there because you tend to do that, as do I. But if I'm going to be in the pursuit of those goals, how can I make the pursuit of the thing at the end of the day that I want more than that as important as I make what comes natural to me, which is business? So in doing that, I had to really take a look inside and say, what are some of these emotions that I want to experience in my marriage and in my life? And the two big ones that kept coming up for me, I don't know what it is for you, and I really want to challenge you to think about this as we're going into a season of the holidays, as we're going into some time that we get to slow down again, get to maybe reflect a little bit. You know, I thought about it, and there's two words that come to mind. I'm a fairly happy person most of the time, and I'm a fairly driven person all of the time. And as much as I hate to admit it, I'm very, very hard on myself. You know, when something doesn't go the way I want it to go, I tend to beat myself up a little bit over it. And that's not something that I think I want to pass down to my kids, right? So compassion, joy, and peace are the three words, the three emotions, the three states of being, let's call them, that I really want to cultivate. I really want to create. And I want to challenge you to think, like, what are those things that you want to create in your life? For me, it's joy and peace and compassion for myself. So what does the brain science say about that? Well, our emotions are connected to our thinking. And so reverse engineering, what do I have to think in order to create this in my life? One of the things I noticed was on my backstage days or the days on the weekends, but mostly my backstage days where I don't have other responsibilities like my kids and all that. I notice I have expansion, I have peace, I have a lot more creativity. I'm more compassionate with myself. And I got real curious about that. Like, why is that the case? And it's because on those days, I'm allowing it. And those days, I've decided in advance that I have the space, that it's okay to be creative. So I'm not beating myself up over it. I'm actually allowing myself the space to feel joy, which is naturally there for me. But sometimes I'm working so fast and furiously that I don't slow down at the pace of peace and joy. So that got me thinking, like, is it possible through science, could I create the thinking that would create then the emotions of those things? Well, one of the different thoughts that I recognized on my backstage days versus my front of days where I'm on camera is on those days, I gave myself permission to relax. I gave myself permission to go slower. I gave myself permission to notice and observe and be in that space of flux. So that created a curiosity in me. Like, could I potentially, with those same thoughts, pull that into my front stage days, pull that into the days when I've got the puppy and the kids and the husband and all the things going on, the sports and, football and horseback riding and all the things. And the brain science tells me, yes, that's absolutely the way to do it. So that's what I've been spending my time doing, and will continue to spend my time doing over the holidays, is cultivating, deciding in advance what thoughts that need to be present so that the emotions will follow. Now, so often with emotions, we follow them, right? I feel this and then I do this. I feel that and then I do that. But the reality is there's a thought that goes before that emotion. We know that from brain science now. So that is the challenge I've given myself over the holiday season, is to let it become okay to be in the pocket of space and slowness and still be an achiever and still be someone who serves their tribe deeply, but does it from a place of expansiveness, of peace, and of joy, and of compassion. Now, here's the thing. I'm very compassionate for my tribe, my family, my kids, my puppy, my husband, not so much toward myself. And I'm curious if you've struggled with that too. So this holiday season, I am deciding in advance the thinking that I need to think in order for joy, peace, and compassion toward myself to be present, whether I have a all-day camera day or a relaxing day on my own or a day full of family and events. I am training my brain to captivate those thinking and repeat them enough so that those thoughts become automatic, which create the emotions to follow. And so I want to talk to you about that today and just challenge you as we go into this holiday season, this Christmas season. There's a great scripture that says, "My peace I give to you." So I already have the peace. I have to think the thoughts to receive it. I have to think the thoughts to receive the joy. I have to think the thoughts to receive the compassion. What is that for you? What are the one or two states of being that you really want to have going forward? And just get really curious about the thinking that creates that, and start to show your brain those thoughts over and over and over again so that your brain will see it as safe and familiar and start to produce more of it for you in your life. All right, that's what I have. Short and sweet for you today. Until we meet again, this is the Epic Success Podcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a Merry Christmas. Have a happy holiday. And I just wish you peace and joy and compassion. Until we see each other again. Bye for now.